All right, today we are diving into a really chilling story. It's all about a village called Bairavpur, a crumbling old mansion, a very old curse, and this mysterious sound, a sound that haunts anyone who hears it. It's impossible to escape the Aahat. I mean, imagine finding that message, written in blood. It's absolutely central to this whole mystery. So, what in the world is the Aahat, and why is it supposedly impossible to escape? Well, let's get into it. Okay, so our story starts in this remote, kind of desolate Indian village, Bairavpur. And life there pretty much revolves around staying away from one specific place, this creepy, crumbling old mansion, a haveli, that just looms over the whole town. You can just feel the fear coming off of it. Now, the reason everyone's so terrified is something they call the Aahat. So what does that mean? Well, it's a faint sound, like footsteps, but there's no one there. And the villagers believe that sound is a warning, a sign that some supernatural entity is walking their streets after dark. And you know how these stories go. It all kicks off because of a dare, a little bit of bravado. A tourist named Rena, she's hearing all these local legends and just thinks they're a bunch of spooky stories. So to prove her point, she decides to walk right into that cursed haveli, all alone. What happens to Rena in there, seeing a second shadow on the wall when she's the only one there? That's just the beginning. Pretty soon the whole village is in its grip. The Aahat starts to show up for everyone, but differently. It's this wild pattern of terror. A barber sees a ghost with glowing green eyes. A teacher hears a whisper right in his ear. A bus driver picks up a passenger that isn't really there. It's like the haunting customizes the fear for each person, making it so much worse. So, as you can imagine, the entire village is just paralyzed with fear. Things have gotten so bad that the authorities have to step in. They send a professional investigator to figure out what's going on, assuming it's just, a case of mass hysteria. And this is where we meet DCP Arvind. He's a police officer, a total rationalist. He shows up completely convinced there's a logical, simple explanation for all this, which of course is the complete opposite of what the villagers are feeling, the shared supernatural terror. So Arvind, full of skepticism, marches straight into the haveli to prove everyone wrong. But his skepticism doesn't last very long. Inside the mansion, in that dead silence, he feels it. A hand, clear as day, on his shoulder. And then he hears a voice whisper. And that whisper changes everything. It's not just a random spooky sound. It's a direct command. Suddenly, Arvind's mission isn't about debunking a myth anymore. It's about solving a very real and very, very dangerous mystery. So Arvind is a skeptic no more. He's a believer now, and he knows the danger is real. He actually teams up with Rena, the tourist who started this whole mess, and Anirudh, the teacher, to do what the voice said, go down into the darkness of the haveli cellar. Their search leads them to this big, rusted iron door. They manage to force it open and start heading down these dark, damp stairs into the one place nobody in the village has even thought about entering for 100 years. And what they find down there? Wow, it confirms all their worst fears. Scrawled on the wall in what sure looks like blood is a message: the Aahat is my curse. Whoever hears it will meet their end. I mean, there's just no mistaking that. And then, right at that moment, a ghostly apparition actually appears. It's a woman, and she tells them the whole horrific story. Her name was Lalita. A century ago, she was the lady of this mansion, and her own husband buried her alive, right there, in that cellar. They learn that the Aahat, it's the sound of her. It's the endless echoing sound of her final desperate footsteps as she tried to claw her way out. So, knowing this horrible truth, the group actually feels a little glimmer of hope. I mean, it's awful, but if they know the source of the curse, then maybe, just maybe, they can figure out a way to finally end this 100-year-old nightmare. Their logic, it seems pretty solid. They figure the curse has to be tied to Lalita's physical remains, which must be buried somewhere in the haveli. So the plan is simple: burn the mansion to the ground, destroy the site of the tragedy, and hopefully set her spirit free. So that's what they do. They set the haveli on fire and just watch as this symbol of all their fear is just eaten by the flames. And that night, for the first time in generations, the village of Bairavpur is completely and peacefully silent. The fear is finally gone. The curse was broken. The ghost was at peace. The nightmare was over, right? Well, as the ashes of that old mansion finally cooled, a really terrifying question started to bubble up. Was the haveli ever really the source of the Aahat? And this is where we get the final, absolutely chilling twist. Days later, miles and miles away from Pyrovpur, Rena is just sitting alone in her room when she hears it. That faint, slow, unmistakable sound of approaching footsteps. The Aahat was never in the house. The story leaves us with this truly horrifying idea. The Aahat isn't a place you can just burn down. It's not a ghost you can put to rest. It's more like an echo of a trauma that once you hear it, it latches onto you like a shadow. It's a curse that follows you wherever you go, forever. And it really makes you wonder, once you've heard it, can you ever really be alone again?